Yes,
Okay,
doctor.
okay, that's good. Thanks. Uh, Hi class, it's 11 a.m. now. Please try to use the password to record your attendance and reply here and let me know whether the password is working or not, or and also have you done with the attendance. Okay, so you record your attendance before we start the class. Okay, thanks, Ifan. Before I start the class, I want you to download your lecture notes and also the HTML templates. There are some sample files, sample codes that for your reference. So you download the lecture notes together with the HTML templates. The lab questions I also upload for your exercise, and we will also discuss on Friday. Okay, so but for today's class, of course, you have to download the sample codes first. At least when I open the code and explain something, you also have a copy. You can go to Spectrum to download the sample codes. I will start the recording now. Okay, good morning, class. Today we will start the first class that is related to coding. We'll start from the basics one, since some of you, although some of you already have experience or some basics on HTML, but we start again, at least for those that you already know, you can refresh your memory. But for those who are new to web programming or have very limited knowledge on HTML, we have at least we go through this and understand how to write the HTML text. So this lecture will give you introduction to HTML, which is the basis for web programming and how you can structure your web content, your web page. So for today's lecture, we'll look at the briefly understand what is HTML, XHTML, and HTML5, and how to identify the markup language in a web page document, how to use the different elements, HTML elements, and also the HTML head, body, title, and meta elements to code the template, how to configure the body sections of the web page. The body sections basically will be the main content of your web page. There are a lot of elements like headings, paragraphs, line breaks, divisions, lists, and block quotes that you can use to structure different content. You can also learn how to configure text with phrase elements, how to configure the structure of your web page using the structural elements like header, navigations, main, and footer, how you can break down your content into your body content into different sections, how to configure spatial characters, how to use the encode elements to link from one page to another page, how to create absolute, relative, and email hyperlinks, how to configure graphics on a web page, how you test a web page documents for valid syntax and create HTML tables and forms. Okay, first of all, for HTML, I think this is something that you should be familiar with HTML. The complete name for HTML is Hypertext Markup Language. So basically, when we use HTML, this is a markup language that provides a set of markup symbols or codes and text for us to place in a file. And the HTML in markup language is intended for us to display our web pages using the browser. And the standard syntax or standard text or coding for HTML is actually defined by the World Wide Web Consortium. So if you go to W3C, you can see that there are quite a lot of different things that the consortium has provided the standard. Okay, so W3C's consortium, basically they will give you a lot of information related to some cheat sheets or some of the guidelines or different information sharings. Okay, if you click standards, they also will explain what are the standards that have been defined by them. So for HTML elements, right, when you are writing HTML elements, you need to have the markup code that represents the HTML elements that you want to show on the web page. So every element, they will have their specific purpose, and when you choose a specific elements that you want to present your content or present the informations, normally most of the elements will ask you to have an opening tag, something like this, and closing tag. So normally, if let's say you want to have headings, you also need to have a closing tag and put the default syntax for these elements and close the tag. And when you want, so you have to focus on when you want to, you have to remember this. So the opening and closing, and in between will be the contents. So later when we look at the syntax, I will show you again. So the beginning part, I'll just give you some at least some explanations or informations about HTML. And what is HTML5? So this is the newest versions of HTML or XHTML. So far, the HTML5 is widely used now and supported by modern browsers, and also have some other characteristics backwards compatible, we can add new elements, new functionality, and there are also some other features supported by HTML5 as compared to the older version. So this is a general rule, like I have mentioned just now. When there are a lot of HTML elements that we can use. So when you want to use, let's say if you want to specify a navigation bar, or if you want to specify a anchor link, you will use their tag name. Okay, use the opening. So you have to put the tag name here using this bracket and slash with the tag name. This is the opening, and this is the closing tag. So in between there is your content. So you type your content, and with the tag name, it shows that how you want to present the content. Are you going to present it as a heading, or are you going to present it as a title, or are you going to present it as a paragraph? So this is the general rule for HTML markup language. So we also have document type definitions. So they are what we call doc type statements. This from the doc type statements, people will know what is the versions of HTML content in your web document. So normally it plays at the top of a web page document. So for example, if you are using HTML5 Dtd, so this is the standard /doc type HTML. When people see this, they know you are using HTML5. So for XHTML, the old one, this is the DTD information. But now, since we are using HTML5, so we will use this. So if you open the basic tag or templates, if you have downloaded the code, you open the template, you will see this is the DTD. So basically, this is the HTML5 DTD. When we see this, when people see this, they already know you are using the HTML5. So this is the example HTML web page. Some of the codes, you can see that when we have the if you see the sample template we have here. Okay, so basically this is represent the DTD to show that the versions that we are using in HTML5. When we want to start writing a HTML page, right, we will have the opening tag for HTML and closing tag for HTML, so that all the content inside between these two opening and closing tag will represent that they are HTML. All this will be translated into HTML markup language. So they will recognize all the content here as HTML. So all the tagging here will be recognized as a HTML elements. So when we write the most basic one before you write anything, so this is the most basic one. You put the DTD, then you have the opening of HTML, closing of HTML. Then after that only you add the other parts of your content. So if you this one, okay. So after just now I have shown you the HTML. So we normally in the HTML typical HTML page, we will have the head and body sections. Head sections basically contains the information that we want to describe the web page document. So this is the head sections. So this is what we call the head sections. So the head sections, normally if you see that if you run the file, later I shows you where the titles will appear. So this is the part that contains the meta informations or the descriptions or informations of the web page document, or what we want to the metadata that we want to store here. The second part, body sections. So this is the second part is the body sections. This will consist of the main contents of our web page. So the contents can be there might be text, some elements, anchor links, this and that. Okay. So you can see after you have the HTML tag, so in between we will break down separate into two main sections, head sections and body section. If you want to look at all the HTML common elements, you can use the MDN as a reference, the developer guidelines. So this is actually the Mozilla. This is one of the resources provided by Mozilla for developers. So they have a lot of informations you can search, the reference, the guide. If you want to learn web development, they also have a lot of informations to give you. They got HTML, some guidelines on HTML, CSS, JavaScript, web forms, quite a lot of things. They share it here. They also share it share with you some other server-side website programming. So you can see they provide reference and guidelines, also some tutorials. So this is actually a good reference for web developers. So you can when you click this link, you can go to the reference. Okay, so in the headings part, right, just now we have see that heading part, we want to store the informations of this web document. We normally will have a title elements which shows the title of the web page. So when you see the browser, right, whatever appear here, this is the things that when we type whatever thing we type between the title tag under the head sections will appear here. So you will see in this code, right, this is my first HTML5 web page, and this will appear here as well on the browser. So this is the title of the page. Whatever you write, if you have other meta elements, like for example, you want to define the character set, this and that, you can also write under the head sections. Whatever, and another things that you will notice that when whatever codes that we put between the body, right, will appear in the main content of our web documents. Okay, so this one I'll come back to the. If you open the template file, template.html, so this one basically or boilerplate. So this is the one that if you open the boilerplate, this is the most basic one that I just give you as an example, so that if next time you are doing your lab exercise, you want to start from this is the template that you can start from, or any other simple one. Okay, so if let's say this is another one that you can also use. Under the body, we have I already give you some other structural elements for you to break down the body sections into a few different contents. Okay, this one later I will explain later. But the most basic one that you can see is this one. If you have installed Visual Studio Code and also the add-ons, so the day I told you, if you want to open in default browser by right-click and open in default browser, you can search the extension here and add it. So for example, this is the one that I already installed. So if you haven't installed it and you want to use it, you just search it under the extensions and click install to install it. So once you install it, you can open like how I did. You can open this web page. So now we can see that from here, you will see that in the head, I have a title called my first web page, my first page, and I also add elements called H1 heading, which is what we call heading. So later we will see all the elements later, but this is since it's fall under the body content, so later you will see this appear under the body sections of the web document. Now if I open in default browser, okay, the title will appear here, my first page. And this is the content. All the content will appear here. Whatever you put under the body content will appear in these body sections of this web document. So just now I have a H1 heading 1 with the content. This is my first tag. So if you look at the HTML, it's quite straightforward. Opening tag, closing tag, and whatever appear here, we will format according the HTML. The web documents will translate will interpret the tagging and present it using the HTML elements that you already put according to the tag name that you put here. So let's say if I change something, use another one, H2. If you use Visual Studio, they will auto close for you when you type the opening one. Now, after I save it and I open again, or I refresh, you refresh also can. If you refresh it, you will see the second tag appear here. It is smaller because I'm using the H2 heading elements. So there are two things appear here. Okay, so this is just to quickly shows you the So later I'll just show you some of the, these are some common heading elements. It is similar to how you write in the Word document. Sometimes we want to divide, we want to show in headings, right? Like for example, maybe you have a few when you write your report, you will use the heading elements in the Word document to separate like the main heading, the main title. Sometimes you also have subheadings. So for H1 will be the main headings in your or main topic. They want to show the topic in your document, to describe the title, the heading of this part of the content. So the H1 will be always be the biggest one. So H6 will be the smaller one. So H1 you have to remember, H1 is the if you want to use any heading element, it always start with H, and we only have 6 levels, 6 numberings, 1 to 6. So this one you can remember easily, heading element. Normally students don't have problem with that. Paragraph, anything that you want to show as a paragraph. Okay, you want to group a few sentences in a paragraph, you use the P, and the tag name is P to represent the paragraph. So anything you put opening P, closing P will be paragraph. If you want to have a line break element, you want to inside a paragraph, you want to break the line, you just need to put BR. So it will show the second line will start as a new line. So for example, if now we have a paragraph, I add a paragraph here. I add a paragraph with 2 sentences. Hi, this is web programming class. We are learning HTML today. And if I want to break this, if I didn't put any break line elements, you will see everything will appear in the same paragraph. If we want to break the line, we just need to add. So it is quite easy to use HTML as long as you remember. If you want to present it or structure your elements to appear, the contents to appear in what kind of elements, you only need to know what is the tag name, then you use it. BR is the one of the elements that you don't need to have closing tag. You only need to have opening tag. They already can interpret the elements. There are a few elements that don't need to have closing tag. This is one of it, the line break. So if now I refresh my page again, you will see that it appear into 2 lines already. So this is just to show you some demo. If you want to show your elements as block codes, sometimes, like for example, some web page, right? Sometimes you will use some. You want to let's say if you are creating a web programming class. Sometimes maybe you will include some block code from some famous programmers, this and that. So if you want to show it as a block code, you can put this opening tag block code and slash block code. It will show you in the display it like a code with spatial emphasis in the text. So in HTML, when you want to add any comments, you can the opening tag will be exclamation mark dash dash, and close is dash dash. Okay, the closing bracket. So this is the tagging. So anything that you put between this opening tag and closing tag will be interpreted as comments. So it won't appear in your web page. So these are some other phrase elements that you can use. So for example, you want to bold the text, you use V. You want to emphasize text, you can use EM. You want to italicize the text, use I. You want to mark the text, you use this. If you want this to become a small text or strong text, subscript or superscript. So you can see a lot of things the concept is actually similar to how you do the format in Word document. So if you are familiar with Word, you can pick up HTML quite fast. As long as you know what is the meaning of these elements tag name, then you can use it to suit the contents. Okay, so this is the in HTML, right? First, we can have what we call nesting. So you can actually apply more than one HTML element text. So let's say we have a paragraph here. You can see in this example, we have a paragraph. So when you started with a paragraph, if you didn't put any other tagging, it will show like how I have shown you just now. So this is the by default. It will appear like this. Okay, this is the standard paragraph. How you will see it. This is the standard one that you will see as a paragraph. What we call nesting is you can apply more than one elements within the, let's say this is a paragraph. For this paragraph of sentences, you want to add other elements. For example, you want to italicize the paragraph, then you can put the I. So make sure that whatever content that you want to put, right, you must put it cover from the opening until closing. This will be the part that will have changes, will be formatted. So if let's say, for example, in this one, we have applied another strong tag, but only this 888.555. The phone number will be appear as strong. So if you see the effects, this will be displayed by browser. So the whole sentences, the whole paragraph will be displayed as italic size, italic, okay, format, and the phone number will appear as a strong. So if I, for example, if let's say I change here, so if let's say I want to cover this, then I will move this one to the end before I close the paragraph. So you can see it. And I refresh it, because of the nesting, the whole thing changed. So let's say I only want to emphasize this part as strong. Want to emphasize the cross code to show as a strong. So I put it, only this will appear in between the opening and closing tag. And I refresh again, you will see that this will be put in the strong format. So this is what we call as nesting. So basically you can apply more than one elements. You can have a nested HTML tag elements within the others tag element. So far, do you have any questions? I think it's quite straightforward, right? Do you have any things to ask? If you can also open if you because I didn't ask you to try anything, because I think this is quite straightforward. Most of you already know. So later you can I will allocate some time and ask you to do something on the lab. At least you can start to, you can try to write your own coding on using HTML. Okay. So any ask before we. So far okay, right? Since all of you are quiet, okay. So next thing, this is another commonly used HTML elements, what we call list. We want to show it we want to show a list of items on our web document. We can have unordered list, ordered list, or what we call description list. Unordered list is straightforward. We don't have any numberings. By default, it will show as a bullet points. Let's say if you put unordered list, very easy to remember the tag UL, unordered list. And anything you want to when you have unordered list, you need to open the unordered list UL and close the UL. So anything that you put in between the UL item. So we have a list of things, so you need to open the UL, close the UL. And how many items you want to display inside the list, you have to use another tag called nested tag called list item, LI, list item. So if you remember like this, very easy for you to remember the tag name, the common one. So this is the example. You have unordered list, LI. So each one, when you show it here, it will appear like this as a bullet points with 4 list item for this list. Ordered list means that we will show the number. Class these connections. I'm in UM now. The Wi-Fi is that's why it disconnected. Problem during this time. I think normally in UM 10 to 1 is the peak time. So sometimes the Wi-Fi will be disconnected. So sorry about the disconnection. I will continue the class. I think we are still recording. Okay. So the next thing, for the list, we can also display list with a numbering. That means it's ordered list. So by default, same thing. For ordered list, if you put OL, then we will know you want to display the list with numberings. Okay, so every item will show as you have a numbering scheme. We can have, if you want, you can indicate the type of the numberings that you want. By default, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4. By default, if you didn't indicate anything for your ordered list, it will automatically appear as 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers. If you want to specify your own numbering, like for example, you prefer to appear as ABC, then you have to indicate type equals to A. So there are a few different numbering schemes that you can use. If you want to use uppercase letter, then you have to put A, type equals to A. If you want to use the lowercase Roman numerals, you put I. If you want to use uppercase, use the capital I. By default, it will be indicates the numbers. Another list that you can use is description list. So sometimes if you want to display a list of terms and descriptions, or you have a term, then you have a definition. You want to display like this, or sometimes you want to show it like FAQ, question and answer. Then you can use description list. Inside a description list, if you want to indicate you want to structure your content as a description list, you have to use the opening tag of DL and closing tag of DL. So inside here, you have to include two elements, DT to represent the term or phrase, okay, or sentence. DD will be the descriptions for this term. So you can see this in this example, we have a description list, opening tag DL, closing tag DL. So in between the term and definitions, descriptions that you want to add, you can put, you use the tag dt and dd. So for example, here we have the term IP, and we want to put the complete for these abbreviations, the complete phrase is Internet Protocol. The second one, and second example, TCP means Transmission Control Protocol. So you can show it as a description list. So I just quickly just give you an example. So if let's say you have anything like ordered list you want to show, by default list item. Okay, so if you see, I have an ordered list that I have added to my body contents. When I refresh it, it will appear as a list. So I have a paragraph, I have two headings here, one paragraph and a list. So if I want to have a specific type, I want it to appear as the uppercase, Romance numericals, symbols. Okay, after I save it, refresh, it will appear as the uppercase Roman numerals syntax. So for if you want to try, so for HTML elements, if you are not familiar, once you try it, you can actually very easy for you to pick up. You just need to type it and see the effect. For example, after I save it and refresh, you can see this is a description list. Okay, I think I put DD. This should be DD. That's why it doesn't appear when you see it, because I put both DT, so they will appear together. If it is DD, it will show as it will show like this. So we can see, we can differentiate. This is the term, this is the description. Okay, so I just quickly shows you how is the effect. Inside your HTML, you can also display some special characters like quotation mark, right single, or copyright. So if let's say you want to add some copyright statement, you can use the emphasis copy and okay. So this is the symbol, ampersand, empty space, or less than, greater than. So these are some of the special characters, because sometimes why we use the special characters for less than and greater than is because we also use it in some of the coding for logical operator. That's why sometimes if you want to show it as a special characters, you can use this is the code. So for example, if you want to use the copyright to show the copyright statement, okay, so it will show as a special character for copyrights. For attributes, because for some elements, you can add additional information to the tag. So we can add something like, for example, image. When you want to display an image, the default text, we know the tag name is img, represent the image. But which image you want to present, you need to include the what we call attribute. So we need to add some attributes to this tag element in order to specify the value that we want to indicate. For image, for example, we want to include the file name, the image file name that we want to display. So when you include, this is the attribute src, means the source for this image. You have to indicate the file name. And if when you put like this, right, that means that the image file also need to be appear in the same folder. If you if let's say if you have another folder store the image inside the project folder, then you have to put the image name slash the file name. Okay, for class also there are some other attributes that you can use to indicate. Let's say you want to define some class, you want to group some of your elements together, you can also indicate class name. So if let's say now you add an attribute called class and the class name is selected. So this is this is an example attributes. So for anchor tag will be the link, the anchor link that allow you to go to another site. So if let's say for you want normally we need to include this HTML reference link here. Okay, so if let's say it is an external link, you have to put if it is a link another page, external page, then you need to put www dot or https or http the complete link in order for when we click it, then you will go to the external web page. If it is a page that inside your project folder, you just need to indicate the file name to navigate to another file. So there are also some other attributes, like let's say this is in the heading and in the header part. Sometimes we also want to include our style sheets, our CSS file. Then this is some attributes you have to indicate what indicate this is a style sheet. What is the type? The type when you indicate it is CSS, then they can interpret this file as a CSS file. So these are some different attributes that you can use. It just quickly shows you, like for example, maybe the example for this. You can add some attribute. To add the anchor tag, normally we have to include in you want to go. So normally you have to include the it's either it is you can include as a web address, or if it is the files in your folder, then you have to indicate the file name for us to navigate to another web page. So if let's say now we want to go to Google, if I refresh it, and I click it, okay, it will link to the google.com. I include the HTTP also. Okay, it will, when I click the Google, so this is the anchor tag, the word that will appear as a link. So just now if you see here, this is what will appear as a anchor tag or a link for us to navigate, a navigation link. When I click it, it will link to the page that I want to go. So when you have the anchor tag, you actually show it as a link. We can also have the structural block, what we call, or we can have a specific area, what we call divisions on a web page. So when you use div, right, it represents the divisions. You can divide the web content as a specific division area or block area. And when you use div, right, there will appear some empty space from the previous content, and also some empty space before before it link to the next content. So this is one of the way. Sometimes we will use the div to create some structural block area for specific division. Okay. So in HTML5, because when we start writing HTML, the main purpose is to decide how we want to structure the content and what content we want to include in this web document. So when you write HTML, when you start with the HTML, right, your focus will be you want to know what are the how you want to structure your web document. So all these, the diagram that you see here is all within the body. We can use some what we call structural elements. This is the elements that help us to differentiate our content from one. Inside the whole body content, we want to create what we want to differentiate one content from another content to know the purpose of to structure the body content. So in this diagram, it actually shows you that inside a body, in a typical website, we will have a header. We will have navigation links to the header. Basically will explain to people when people visit your website, when they see the header, any things that you show in the header, they know what is the website that you visit. Normally you will give a web page name, then people will know, oh, they are coming to your website. So normally we will structure one sections anything that we put under the header, structure elements. We want to tell people this, we want to show the web page, and this also helps us to know what we want to put, what are the content that we want to put. So when we say we want to structure the web page, we can think about where we want to put the header, navigation, this and that. So normally a typical one, we will have header, we will have a navigation menus. So this, with anything that we put between the nav, this will consist of all the navigations menu, all the navigation links, how many pages that we have, and all the navigation, all the links of all the web pages will appear here. After navigations, normally we can have structural elements, what we call main elements, and this will be the main content of our website. So you can also utilize what we call div, the division, to separate the main content into different parts or different block or areas, different divisions. So at the end, we can also add a footer. So you can see, just shows you some. This is an example. So if you see from here, we can see that actually this is the header part. So the header part, you can actually see. Normally we want to show what people would want to. You want to tell people what is the website. So if you see here, when you come to this website, we have a header to show that this is MDN web documents. This is one of their logo, and this is the part that they shows that when I visit it, I already know the main purpose of this website. They want to provide resources for developers, and this is the resources are provided by developers to the new developers or to the existing to any developers who are interested to get the resources to learn web development, to look at the web technologies, to explore the web developer tools. So this is from the headers, we already know what are the things that you want to do, and this is all the navigation, what we call navigation. So when you have navigation, it will show us all the pages that we can go, the navigation menu. So under technologies, we can also go to different links to go to different page. So if I click another one, you can also show me this. So normally navigation menu will always appear at one place, so that when we want to navigate to another page, we can always scroll to the navigation menu. That's why when you design a web page, you will always decide where you want to structure this kind of these are what we call the structure or the sections. So you can see in this website, these are their navigation menu. So they have under the main menu, they have sub links. They have links to go, which is all the feedbacks pages. So if we want to report, they also allow us to link to the GitHub, this and that. Okay, so this is to show you. So when you scroll down, right? So this is a typical just to show you some examples. you can also see that under here we have, they also have some, in this example, they actually divide their Windows content into two parts. This is the side menus to also allow you to navigate to other pages of the for this content, and this will be the main parts, what we call the main structured elements. So the contents, the web page main contents. So if you see this website, it's actually all these are the main content of this website that we want to share. You want to show to the anyone who visit this page. If you scroll down, you will see this is what we call footer. So normally footer, you can, if you see a website, normally when we design it, it's very obvious, you can detect where is their header. These are their main content, and they divide into two columns. And their left columns has some navigation links again to other contents in under this. When we scroll down, normally you will see that footer, they will have darker colors. So this is also something that you can think about it when you do the CSS or when design. Normally when we choose color, you will notice that the header, we will want to divide and show people that this is the, obviously where is the header. For footer, header and footer, sometimes we will use darker colors. Like in this example, they use black color as background color. So we can straight away differentiate the main content from the footer. So these are some of the things that you have to learn how people structure their web page. These are the typical one that under the footer, sometimes you will give them more informations on this website or contact us, and you also will see some copyright statement and how to contact them, or some of the other things related to this, some other links for this. If you go to FSKTM, also same thing, that you can see a lot. You can see from here, this is the header, and these are the content. If you scroll down, this is our footer, the footer of FSKTM website. They provide us with some quick links, internal links, some other things to show we have collaboration with some of the external parties. Okay, they also show the copyright statements here. So you can see this is some of the example, and this is our navigation menu, header, navigation menu, and the content. In the content, they have a division to show the carousel. Carousel means that you can actually can display something like image gallery to the people who visit to see the some announcements or upcoming events. So this is what we mean when you design a website. First thing, because normally you already know what you want to do for this website, but the main thing is you want to know how you want to structure your website. Now, if you go to my sample files, if you click the template structural elements, this is one example. I just want to show you that inside the body, we have this is some typical structural elements that you can actually use this as a practice, that have a habit that you want to divide your content into header, navigation, main, and footer. These are the four typical structures that normally we have within the body. So because we want to be very clear when we present the information to the user, you yourself want to differentiate which part is related to division. So anything that you put within the header will be the document heading. Anything you want to put the navigation links here. So this is just to show you a typical example. Of course, later you should put specific header information, navigation, or main content here. In your lab, you will learn how you will have some exercise to structure this, and also put the content that you will appear as header, under the header, under navigation, main content, and footer. So this is in the lab. Also, I'll give you the instructions to let you practice it. So if you open in default browser, these are, because we already put some of the wording here. So this is just to show you that in this body content, we will divide into four parts. heading, document headings, main navigation, main content, and document footer. So whatever things that you put between here, we want to know the purpose of these sections. We structure them into 4 different sections. Of course, now you can't really see it when you see this template. It is because we haven't add all the heading information or anything, so you can see it is quite plain now. But later, after you have add the contents, it will show more. It will become more meaningful to you. Okay, so this is an example. If you open the home.html, let me see. Okay, so this is later we will look at the example. So in this example, later I will show you the example how we people have how in the basic HTML we already can actually differentiate the contents into 4 different types of content: the header, navigation menu, the main content, which has two parts, and the copyright segments represent the footer of this website. So this is the example. If you click home.html, if you have the file, open it as well. So in this example, I just give you a quick example. Under the header, we contains the web documents heading. Remember, normally in the headings, right, we want to introduce people, for example, one of the typical one, the name of the website, so that people knows which page they are entering. Or even if you come to the home page, normally this will be the name of your company or the name of your community or something like that, so that people enter here, they know where they are visiting. You can also see some company logo, university logo, this and that. So you can see when you come to UM, you also can see at the header we have the UM logo, FSKTM logo. So you straight away you know that you are visiting a UM website, and this is our faculty name. If they want to be more, you can see you scroll down again, and inside here they actually also have the faculty name. Sometimes people also will put here their name. It depends on how they want to design it. Okay, so this is just to give you some idea. Like in this example, we have a heading to give the name of this company, Trillium Media Design. And under the navigations, we include 3 links, which actually represent the 3 pages, main pages that will appear, we will have in this website: index.html, services.html, and contact.html. They are from the home page. We can see that this website will have 3 navigation links, which means that beside home page there are 2 additional pages that we can visit. Under the main content, we see that in the home page, they give us some information, some background on the what the company is doing. Like for example, we can see that the companies try to use the H2 to tell us that their company is focusing on new media and web design, and they also use a paragraph to give us some information of their company. Another one is to also some of their something that they try to promote their business, meeting your business needs, and the paragraph, the sentences that they try to attract you to be their customers. So this is the main content, the sample main content. Under the footer, we can see there is a copyright statement, and we also have a email. So you can see from here, actually the anchor tag, the reference link is email address. So for email, you have, if you put mail to, it will link to your default mail applications. And this can be this is the email address that you can appear here on your web page. Okay, so and in this example, they use the small formatting and italic to represent it. They also break the line between the copyright statement and the email address. So if I open this home page, this is what you will see when you open it. Okay, so you can see under the title, the page, the name of the page. Okay, if you change it, you can also change to name that you want to put to tell people that what is your page website name, the title. And this is the headings that we already see, the navigation part, the contents, the main contents with the subheadings, and the paragraph to explain to people what the company is doing. And this is the footer part. So you can see, although here we don't use any CSS to show the colors, anything to differentiate them, but in our coding, we actually already divide the body sections. Inside the body, we have divided them into 4 main types of content: the header, navigation, main, and footer. So this is also one purpose that why what we are one of the main purpose when we use HTML, we also want to decide the structure of the web page. In code, just now I already shows you, it actually gives us the hyperlinks reference. So this is the attribute we will include to show what is the file or the URL that we want to visit. Okay, so you can also, we can have absolute and relative hyperlinks. Absolute link will link you to a different website. So you can include the HTTP, okay, and also the website URL. Then you can go to the different website. If it is a relative link, that means you link to pages on your own website, then you don't need to include the HTTP tag. You just need to include the file name. So you can see in this example, we don't put the HTTP, we only put the file name contact.html. So this shows that it's actually a relative link to pages on our own website. Email hyperlink, the one that I showed you in the sample already. Same thing, we use the anchor tag, but in the hyperlink reference, you put mail to. When you put mail to, and when you click it right, actually it will link to your OS default one. For example, this will link to my Hotmail, my Outlook applications, and we can send the email. So if you use the mail to function, you automatically launch your default mail program or mail apps. Okay, hyperlinks. Just now, right, when I showed you that in the navigations, we will show all the main navigations, all the hyperlinks. So one thing you can, when you design a website, also you have to decide how many pages you have and how you want to it shows the navigations. So for example, in this example, we see that we have a home page with another 2 pages, services and contact. So this basically shows you that how you want to have design the hyperlinks and navigations menu. Okay, now it's 12 p.m. Do you want a 5 minutes break? Class, it's already 1 hour class. Do you want a 5 minutes break?
Yeah, I like
okay.
it.
So we will have a 5 minutes break now. Break. Meta element won't shows on our home page. Meta element is what we call descriptions of the website or any additional information. We call it as meta, means that they are something like additional information, but it won't appear or it won't be displayed on our web page. So sometimes when we say meta models, right, they are descriptions or description of the model. When we say meta elements, they are descriptions of this element, but it won't appear as a text or anything, but it just gives you additional description or information of that elements. Okay, you can also search on that. Now I will start the 5 minutes timer. You can take a break. Class will continue the lecture. So this is the one of the popular one. Normally in your web page, you will include a lot of images, or sometimes you will include some other media files. But images is one of the commonly used elements to make your web page more attractive. For when you want to include an image elements, this is the img is one of the HTML tag that don't need any closing tag, but there are some attributes you can use to specify the values for your image. First one, you must include src with the file name that you want to include. And the alt descriptions basically give you some alternate text description. The height, you can also specify the height of your graphics in pixels and also width in pixels. So now, so for example, if I download an image, Okay, so I have saved the file. Okay, so I just saved a file cat.png, and I put it. You have to put it in the folder of your codes. So remember, if you have a file or any images that you want to include, so this is the one that I just downloaded a file cat, and the extension is png. So you remember, if let's say you want to now I want to include it in this. Okay, I will put it under my boilerplate.html. So that's why I also include the image in the same project folder. So I'm going to use this, right? So this is the same folder for my the project. I put the image here so that I can refer to it directly. If you don't put in the same folder, right, it will not, you have to specify the folder. If not, you won't be able to it won't recognize the locations of your image. So let's say now I have an image. I want to include an image here. Okay, I go up. The source files. Because they can detect in my folder already have one image, so it automatically show me this. So this is also one good thing about Visual Studio Code. They can automatically detect the images in the same folder. When I type the file name, it can recognize it automatically and prompt me to use it. Now I open in default browser. Okay, you can see this, but you notice that the file image is quite big. That's why sometimes we can also use some attributes to specify the size of our image. Want to specify the size in pixels. If I refresh it again, it will become a smaller one. Okay, so this is what we mean by we can use some attribute to specify the values. Next, you can also include image as a link, because if you see in when it is I type Google here, so when it will appear as a link. But sometimes if you want to replace this kind of the link with wordings, you can also use image. You can create an image hyperlink. That means that instead of putting home, it is instead of putting the Google as a wording, you can also, let me see, I can download the Google icon. let's see, you can also convert, instead of using it as a hyperlink, you can also use a image to becomes a to make it like a button or to replace the word hyperlink. You can make it as an image hyperlink. So when people click this image, also can go to the website. So now so I change it to the Google. (1985). Okay, you can see actually this is a hyperlink. If I click here, it will also show me to Google. But because when we want to create a button, of course there are also some other ways you can create to make it look nicer. I think I better change the size to bigger one. It should look better now. Okay, so now if you see this, actually it is a image, but it is also a hyperlink. So when I click this image, it can show me to google.com. So it can, instead of showing it as a text hyperlink, you can also use image. So this is just to demo to you thumbnail image. So of course, sometimes in some of the image gallery, they only shows you the thumbnail. So when you click it, then only shows you the bigger image, right? For example, now I have the cat image. The original cat image is very big. But when we have something like image gallery, or want to when people visit our website, we want to just show them some thumbnail, you can actually create what we call thumbnails. There are some of the online or free tools, or some tools that you can actually create thumbnail. Okay, so this is one of the free ones. So if let's say now I want to create a thumbnail, a smaller size for this cat image. Okay, so these tools will allow me to extract here. Okay, now I have another file cat_tn. This is a cat file. So sometimes a smaller one here, but when you show it on your web page, you can actually have a smaller one. When people click it, then they can go to the bigger size. So just now I have this file original one, right? I create as a thumbnail. Also, we utilize the anchor tag functions, but so we just change it to put the thumbnails. Okay, this is a JPEG file, cat underscore. Okay, so this is the one. Let me see, my one should be small enough. Okay, so you can see we have a thumbnails here. Okay, I have a smaller one, but when I click it, it will show me the bigger one. So this is what I mean in this thumbnail image. When we write HTML, right, because there are a lot of elements that you can use. Sometimes you may, if there is a possibility that you might make mistake, because some elements require you to close the tag, right? Let's say now, if this is the file, if I didn't have the closing tag, it actually will have error later. But sometimes when you write a lot of coding, you may lose track of some of the closing tag. If you let's say if you want to do some checking, W3C school, they have a what they call HTML Validator tool. If you go here, if let's say you have write your coding, there are some errors and you yourself couldn't detect what is the error. One of the way is you can actually upload your file to do the checking, or you can type it directly. Let's say if I put here, okay, it will give me some warning, some of the things, but because I didn't put the main file, so that's why they didn't. Some of the things that they will show you what kind of warnings or some errors you may have. Okay, so this is what is the validator. But if you have a lot of files to check, then you can upload it as a file. They can also help you to do the checking. So this is one way. If let's say sometimes when you write coding and you HTML codes and you couldn't you don't know what is your syntax error, you can upload your file for checking. So next thing that you can do is one of the important thing is tables. A lot of time our data, or sometimes when we retrieve information from data from database, we will show it or display it as table format. So tables actually got a lot of features. You can see that a lot of times, sometimes we do building or we want to show comparison, we also use table. When we have some information, we want to show some image gallery or some like this one will show us for this record, for this particular artist, what are the paintings that he had. We can use table to show it, and sometimes also we have a list of record. We use the table, we can show row by row to list down all the records for the paintings, for example. And they can also be used as a calendar. So table is actually quite important in the HTML, one of the important HTML elements. So this is the basic table structure. When you have a table, you have to, for tables, we will have row and columns. So keep that in mind. When you design a table, you need to design how many rows you want to have. So for example, in this case, we have 2 rows of data, and and under each row will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. So the basic one will be table, opening tag of table, closing tag of table. So within here, you can define how many rows that you want to have. So this is the basic table structures. So if you put T out, this will represent the first row. Then inside the row, how many columns you want, you have to use TD to represent it, TR, TD. So remember this is a popular elements that you will always use it to display your information or data. You can also have a spanning columns. So for example, you can also, sometimes you will merge 2 columns together. So you have to specify, if let's say for the first row, the the third and fourth column you want to combine them, then you can use the co-span attribute. And you have to indicate how many columns you want to combine, how many columns you want to merge or span. So here you will see in this example, we combine the two columns, so we indicate 2 here. So you can see when you show it here, it will show as a combined table. You can when we design tables, right, we can also indicate the table heading th. So th sometimes we want to specify the headings for the table. So if you put th, it will show as a bold color to show that this is the heading of the table. Then only followed by the rows. So if you see this example, besides combining the columns, we can also combine a few rows together. Same thing if you are doing if you want to combine or merge column, is the attribute is co-span. If you want to combine rows, is row span. How many rows that you want to combine? 3. Okay, you can specify this. So in this example, we can see that this column, right, want to combine three rows together as one column. So we put td is column. How many rows that you want to combine for this column? If 3, then you put equals to 3. So this you can see in this example. So these are also some additional table elements you can use. You can include caption. So table, right, normally we will have a table captions which shows the name of the table. You can also use captions element to show the caption table title or table caption. You can also define something like the class name or group ID. These are some additional things that you can also have column group. So these are some of the things. You can have heading, t-head, to show that this is the heading. Or if you have footer, you can also have t-footer. So when you use these elements, then HTML can recognize that what are the additional elements that you use. So this is t-head, means that this will appear as part of the heading, title, artist, and year. So this is a caption. So they also include a footer. So footer, it will automatically appear at the bottom of your table. You can also have table footer, and the elements tag is t-foot. So whatever appear inside the body will appear between the heading, the head, and also the footer. So you can see here we have two rows of data to display. Each row have 3 columns. So this is just to show that you can also structure your tables with additional table elements, like how we structure the body element. We can have caption. We can also define some class name or column class or column groups. We can also have t-head to show the heading, the foot of the heading, and specify what you want to present in the table body. Tables also can be used layout. So here is so this is an example. You can see when they want to show the castle, more images, different views of the castle. There are 4 additional images being included using the table. So one thing good about table is because the table, they will specify the columns, and the columns and row size will be standard. So when you show it is a very easy and very organized way to have images, can appear as like an image gallery. Okay, this is actually so far one of the most important element for HTML forms. HTML forms plays the important role for us to get the user input. Okay, so we have now we are learning client-side scripting, right? When one of the things that if let's say we want to pass data to backend or pass data to server side for further processing, we need to create actually have to that in web programming or servers, the client server request and response. User send requests using the form. So if you see here, we have a user here opening a browser of our website, and now they want to submit or send a query to us. This is actually a form. You can see there is a submit button here. There are two things that they are entering, two user input, the title and the country. So when the user click submit, the browsers will return the HTML content that are requested by the user. So this is a form that user enter their input, and we will give content based on what the user requested. So if you see in this example, there's another example. The user fill in the form and with the title Central Park, country US, and click submit button to the web server, and the web server will get the user input, and the server side will do the processing and return the required what the users wants, send it back to the user again. So form is actually very important concept in HTML, which is the elements that we use to get the user input. So for HTML form, the opening tag is form, closing also /form. We can specify what inputs we want to have. There are different types of input we can have. We can ask user to enter. Labels is to give the label of the input. At least the users know what they should enter. So if you have a label called name and as a text input next to the label, they know they need to enter name. Okay, so this is some example forms that you see in different websites. If you see here, this is a sign up form. In the sign up form, you have to enter the full name. This is a text input box. Okay, this is another text input box for us to enter email. Another one to enter password. When you click this, if you see this, you know in the form, right, for us to submit the form to the backend or submit the form for processing, for server-side processing, we need a button. When the user click the button, the action is the user submit their user data to backend. So that's why it is important for us to know how to how to format the form, how to include a form correctly in your web document. In Google also, although you see that this is just a box like search box, actually the text that you include in the search box, when you click the button, you also send some keywords, the search keywords to the backend, and Google will retrieve the related information back to you. This is another example. So for form elements, right, when you learn backend, you will also look at the actions and method. So actions means that you actually refer to when you submit a website for backend processing, right, we have to specify which file or which file script will actually process our inputs, the user inputs. So actions actually represent the URL or the files or the scripts that we will send data to, the form data to. Method means what is the HTTP request type. We can use post method, get method. So if you already have background in web programming, you will know what I means that we have to specify where to send, this is specified under action attribute. How to send it is the method, using what type of HTTP request. Method means how you want to send, using post or using get. Okay, so this is normally what we have to specify. But until we cover backend scripting, so basically now if it is only a plain HTML page, the action and method is not meaningful yet until we link it to the backend scripting. For input, right, for a form, we can have text input. If text input, it will show you as a text box, empty text box. We can also, the input, you have to indicate the type of the inputs you want user to enter. If the type equals to text, it will appear as a text box. If type equals to dates, they actually will show you as a the allowed user to enter the dates, the year, month. Okay. Colors, if you put type equals to color, user can choose the color. Type equals to file, user can upload a file, can choose file. So the input type is important. You need to know what input you want user to enter. The more specific fig the type is, it's easier for you to retrieve it later. If it is supposed to be checkbox, you have to put type equals to checkbox. So there are different form elements you can use. If, for example, in a registration form, a sign up form or sign in form, normally user will enter the username, like for example for sign in, we will enter our username and password, right? For password, if you put type equals to password, it will appear as asterisk. You will hide your password so that when you enter your password, nobody will see it. It will be invisible to others. It will be it will be just displayed as an asterisk. Okay, so if let's say in some of the website they may or may not use. If you see here, they actually don't use any labels, right? They only have a label here to tell to ask people to go for registrations. But if your website you want to provide label, it is to make sure that people enter the right input, or you can also elements. So you can see from this example, we have the label, username, and input type. What is the input type? So we can have a label for username. It will appear as a text next to the input. Okay, so in this example, we can see we have a label for username. Okay, this appears as a username and label for password. So the for actually indicate what these are some alternate syntax. You can use for or you can specify ID, but this one actually is meaningful. The ID is meaningful when you pass the data to backend. We can recognize the ID will help us to know that which the identity of the input, and easier for us to do the processing. But this one, when we reach to the backend, then I will explain in more details. So now, if you see here, in this example, we have label, and under a label actually has an attribute called for to give you allow you to indicate the name of the label. Then this is the text that will appear on our web page when we put between the label. So we can see in the username we use the text input. Another one we use the password input, and we have another button here for user to click. So all these put within the form. So when the user click button, it will actually send a request to the web server. There are also some simple in HTML5. If you use the correct type, or you can also use some of the one of the simple validations, because some in a form, right, we also notice that there are some of the information user must enter. Like for example, when the user want to sign in, the user must enter both email and password. If it is empty, we don't want to waste our time sending something empty or incorrect input to the backend and wasting our processing time. So one of the things that you should do is you at the front end, we should already do the version or client side. So one of the way you can put your review, if you add attribute required, you don't need to specify any values. You just need to put the attribute required here. Then the form already will do the checking for you. So when the user click button, login button didn't show anything, it will automatically reject it. Okay, so these are some other radio button. So this is, if you click the folder HTML forms and tables, you will see this is the example of the form. You can see if you open in default browser, it will appear as a form. This is the text box. This one, the color. The user can choose different color. You can also allow user to enter number. So these are the button example of a few different forms. If we come back to the coding, you can see that we have one form here with username, the label, username, password, enter color, this and that. So this is another form. Also, okay. So we also have another form for search button. Another one. So this is also another form. So sample form. In the form, you can see there are some of the input, what we call text area. If you want to type, want to allow users to type like a few more things, that more like their requests or in more sentences, this is what we call text area. So there are different, in the example codes, there are different input type that we actually, you can refer, like let's say, if you use type equals to range, okay, we have minimum 1, maximum 100, the cheese level. If you see here, this will allow us to scroll and type equals to range. And this is a drop-down list. So if you see the syntax for drop-down list, select, okay, opening select, and you can give the name of this drop-down list and the ID, option value, options. So inside the options, right, this is the one that will appear in the drop-down list. You can see here, we have fish, vegetarian, steak. So this is the option, and normally we will indicate the value. So the value will be the one passed to the backend. So for radio button, the type equals to radio. So you can see these are 3 examples in the form that input for the radio button. This is for checkbox. You scroll up, type equals to checkbox. So you can see here, so in this example, if you see here, basically there are also some other examples that you can see for tables. This if you want to see for tables. So this is the example to show you some sample tables. This is another form for marathon. Okay, so this is just to give you some example. If you notice that when I click the marathon one, it will show me when I click register button, but because it is empty, right, it will show me please fill out this field, because we have used a required attribute. Okay, can you see here? I have indicated the required attribute here under the marathon form.html. When we have this, that means that these 2 are compulsory to enter. So we can check the other one, select a race. Okay, email also required, password also required, age group, okay, you didn't see the required, right? So if I enter all the things that required to enter, okay, it will allow me to click the button. Of course, because this is not linked to the backend, that's why we cannot see anything. It will show an error page. But if you see just now, if let's say now I didn't enter anything here, when I click register, it will actually do the checking. Because select this, the drop down, the 2 drop down, this the radio button and also the drop down list didn't put required. That's why they won't check even if I didn't enter anything. So you can see this in this example. Yeah, the required. So if it is compulsory to enter, you need to put the required attribute. Okay, so basically this is some examples to cover for this the basic HTML. For there are a lot of HTML elements that you can use, but it's impossible for you to memorize everything. Let's say if you sometimes there are times that if you can't remember what is the text, you can always come to the W3 schools, or you just Google it. When you Google also, they will allow you to you can also find, like for example, the HTML fields will also show you some example. The input types also, they will show you what are only used input types. So there are a lot of references. Even if you search like HTML form, there are also a lot of references. They will show you the tag, the form tag. Remember, if you want to know HTML form input range, how to create the range sliders, even you click, we can search the tag already, like range, and you want the points between 0 to 10. Okay, so this is some examples to normally you can actually this will allow you to do some of the things very fast. You can Google and find out how to use it. There are a lot of elements and quite impossible for you to memorize everything. So if you forgot anything, like let's say sometimes you forgot and you don't have time to read through the lecture notes again, the easiest way is you just type HTML and you can look for the information. Anything you want to ask for this HTML, because HTML basically the main thing is you need to explore what are the elements available for you to structure, or for you to decide what are the elements you want to use to display your document. You want to display it as a list, display it in table, etc. So you need to understand some basic commonly used elements or HTML elements and how to write their text. Then it's very easy. And you also need to know how you want to structure your website. So the basic things you must remember is when you want to structure, normally a typical website will have the main we'll start from header, navigation, main, footer. So these are the 4 things that normally a typical homepage will have. So for lab, right, I already upload lab questions for you all to try. If you go to the Spectrum, if you go to Spectrum, you open the folder or download the folder. There is instructions for lab 02 and 4 images. This is original size and this one is the thumb size. So this is the instructions to lab 2. Okay, this is actually a simple. There is some simple instructions to ask you to do some work. This one you change to 2021. Later, I think later I will update the instructions with the latest year, so you can change it to the latest copyright year for this year. Something like this, 2021. So later I will update the instructions. So when you download a copyright, you can follow the instructions. This is actually a coffee house website, and this coffee house website, so you follow the instructions. In it, you will create a folder, something like this. You can create a folder called Java Gem. Then you keep all your web pages here and images here. So there are 4 webs: HTML, index, jobs, menu. Okay, 4 HTML images, and you can include the 4 images that I asked you to include. In the instructions, I asked you to create the home page, and from home page you can navigate to 3 main contents of your website: the menu, page, music page, and jobs. So basically, first thing you need to do, you create a folder. You can create any way that when you create a Java Gem folder, then you can include all your the 4 images and also create your files here. So the first instruction is to ask you to create. So what is the content that I want you to add in? The structure, I try to ask you to structure them. For the body, we have header, navigations, the main content, and the footer. So same thing. So I give you instructions with what I want you to put. Like let's say I want you to use H2 elements for the heading, create an unordered list. So you from the instructions, at least you can explore different HTML elements. So menu page, you include the three items that you have in your coffee house. And this is the descriptions with the descriptions of the drink and the price of the drinks. Another one is the music. So in this cafe, every month they will have some Friday night they will have a performance. So this is just to give you a chance to explore how you use different HTML elements. The last one, jobs, also this is to give you some exposure. You can also have chance to create a form, so people can apply job at your cafe. So this one, okay. So this is just some examples some practice for you. Before web pages for you to explore different HTML elements, you can create it quite fast because it is as long as you know how to. Okay, so you can use you can start using the template, then make sure that you also use the structural elements to structure the different contents like header, navigation, the main content. So in my instructions, I will ask you you divide the structural elements to 4 parts. Footer, what you should include. You can use divisions to divide the content or unordered list. Okay, so these are something that very easy exercise for you to start with. So next week you will add on the CSS. So now this is just a plain HTML page. You can see this is the example. So after you have done it, you will see you can see this page will look like this with the header, navigation, content. The home page in the home page we have the just show to our customers that when you come here you can relax to introduce our cafe to them, the address, phone number, copyright statement. Okay. So if you come to menu, it will look like this to show the three coffees that we are selling. Music, the performance with the performance image. When you click, you will go to the bigger image. Okay. Jobs. This is a form to let you explore different input elements. Okay, so this is just a plain HTML page for you to learn how to design the structure of a website and what content you can put in using different HTML elements. Very simple exercise. Then next week we'll add in the CSS. After that we'll apply Bootstrap to it and also use the JavaScript later, at least to make the website looks nicer and nicer. So now for first week you learn how to use HTML elements and present your content first and design the structure of your website first. So anything you want to ask before I end the class? You clear with the instructions for the lab, right? You try to go through the instruction. Anything not clear, you can ask me on Friday. So far, it's a very easy thing. If possible, please do the lab. Although there's no marks for it, but it actually helps you to practice. And when you start doing it, every week we will add in something to it. So to make the lab exercise is continuous. We use the same this coffee cafe website. Next week also we will still continue this. So if you already have this already, you just add in CSS, add in Bootstrap, this and that. Okay. So for those who don't have experience in HTML or web programming, it will be good that you start from the basic HTML. So all these things are basic things. Once you know, right, later you want to change any CSS code, you want to change any template for CSS at Bootstrap, very easy, as long as you understand the concept already. And later you see any sample codes also, you want to use it for your project, use it for your FIB, also very easy, as long as you know the basic. Okay, so if no questions, then I will end the class here. So Friday we'll meet again. Try to do it. If you possible, do all your labs in advance. Then Friday you can show me your website. During the lab sessions, also I may also give you some additional thing. I will ask you to make some changes to your website. So if you already have the website there, then maybe I will on the spot I will ask you all to make some changes to your website, do something on your website. Okay, so no question, right? Bye. Take care. I hope you enjoy the web programming, because this is a website that at least you can see something is working. You can see nice UI. Then you can send requests, submit requests. It's a lot of things to learn, but it's supposed to be quite interesting. Okay? Bye. Take care.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.